Good afternoon, YWCA friends, family, and mission squad tuning in today. This is a special mini-series of the Butterfly Effect, where we will get to know our new YWCA board members together. This is Series 3, Episode 1 of the Butterfly Effect. If this is the first time you've been tuning into the Butterfly Effect, we started this empowerment interview series 2 years ago during the pandemic as a way to get inspired, stay inspired, and hopefully inspire you as well with some inspiring women around the community. We'll continue this series in November with new hosts and guests, but this week we're focusing on our new board members with myself and my colleague Charlene Holmes as the interviewers. And our first guest today is Talia Cass, who is a new board member. She was just voted in earlier, a couple months ago in May at our annual meeting. And so she's new to the board and she's totally dived in. She's very invested in our mission. And I love that you're participating in everything already. So I'm really excited to get to know you more and for everybody else to get to know you more too. So Talia, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from and what you currently do?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be part of this organization and be part of the board. But my name is Talia Cass. My pronouns are she, her. I am from Schenectady County. I actually grew up in a very small town called Duanesburg. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I'm currently a writer for an advertising agency called Vibrant Brands in Latham, New York. And before that, I worked in a lot of nonprofits and in marketing. So
great. Awesome. And are you from Duanesburg and you still live there, or you live in Schenectady now?
Oh, I live in Schenectady now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And with your job, how do you find the balance between life and work? As women, we struggle with that a lot. Can you talk about kind of that balance for you?
Yeah, I think this is something I've struggled with a lot in my career, but I've found more that I can get that balance if I set very clear boundaries for myself. And that's something that I'm still trying to figure out. And my boundaries are constantly changing, but that could mean where I don't do any work on the weekends, or after a certain time in the evening, I don't respond to emails, or I try to set my personal projects to specific days during the week. And having those boundaries, I think, really helps me prioritize, the people who are very important to me in my life and the hobbies that I really enjoy doing. And other than that, I just really try to pay attention to, if I'm feeling burnt out or feeling extra aggravated on a certain day, maybe that means that I need a break. So, listening to myself, having those boundaries, I think, are very important and helpful for me.
Yeah. And it's so true, especially with the YWCA's mission. I did a interview earlier this week where talked about how big our mission is at the Y, and how do you turn that off and balance that with everything else in our lives. And it's certainly a privilege to be able to take a break from the mission work, but absolutely. I think, like you said, the boundaries, as we get older and older, I feel like there's so much more importance on those to just stay grounded and keep our heads on straight with this crazy world we're in right now. So
for sure. Yeah, it's really hard to turn things off, I think, but having time for your own side projects is really helpful. I think it helps my brain kind of shut off from all the crazy things that are happening right now, but just kind of focus on things that I'm passionate about. And that makes me happy for the most part. So
awesome. I love it. Tell me about a role model or mentor you have had or have now currently in your life, and what were the qualities that inspired you?
Yeah, so I feel like my role model has changed a lot throughout my life. But right now, something that I'm really, really invested in is local politics and people who are doing a lot of active work in the community. So for right now, my role models are just a lot of those local, representatives who have ran for, whether it's city council, legislator, or, the New York State Senate, those types of people who are, whether they're community members or they're working class families, those types of people, I feel like that representation is so important. So, and another great person who isn't a local representative, but I really love AOC, her policies, and just the way that she got into her position as a young individual, despite, all the pushback that she got for being a young woman. And I think that's really inspiring. But I also really love Therese McCammon. Her campaigns have really inspired me. And I just think representation of, people in color, LGBTQ folks, and even young folks or older folks, it's really good to have that representation. So I just am really inspired by all the people who are so committed to their community.
Yeah, definitely. 100% agree. So a little change of pace with the next question, but I had to throw it in there with all the new board members because I think it's very telling about priorities in life. But if you were stranded on a deserted island, which doesn't sound half bad, most of the time nowadays, what three things would you want with you and why?
So this, I feel like this question, I was like thinking a lot because at first I was like, "Ooh, I'd want to have like a toothbrush and chapstick or sunscreen," but I'm like, no, I'd probably want things that I could survive with. So I guess probably like a pot so I can boil water, so I can have safe drinking water. Probably a sleeping bag so I can at least be comfortable for the most part at night, and then either like a knife so I can actually like hunt for food, or like a satellite phone so I could call for help, but. I really struggled finding an answer for this one, but I think the practical answers are the way to go. I don't know if I need chapstick.
I totally agree. You can either go survival or you can think about like what things you would not be able to survive with now. And chapstick would be high on my list too.
Yeah, it's just essential. It's always in my purse. So.
That's so funny. Tell us something unique about you that you believe others should know.
So I actually host a podcast that just launched last week. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you. It's been a wild ride. It's called Bisexual Behavior. And basically, I interview different people in our community who identify as LGBTQ or queer. And we just talk about their experiences. So I've talked about different topics like internalized homophobia, whether a person feels queer or not. And it's a bi-weekly podcast. So the next episode will come out next week. And I'm very excited for that one as well.
Yeah, that's amazing to create a space for that conversation. I think that's such a great, area to focus on. If anybody out there is watching and that kind of piques their interest as far as wanting to talk with you about being a guest, like how would it be, convenient for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, so you could follow us at Bisexual Behavior on Instagram. My email for that is just bisexualbehaviorpod, POD, at gmail.com. Or you can listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Great. That's awesome. Where do you draw your inspiration from, especially, getting through a tough day?
So I'm a big writer. I know I do that for work. I'm a copywriter, but I also really love memoirs and essayists. And I find that reading people's stories in particular is something that really inspires me, because I know, no matter what I'm going through, somebody has gone through something completely different and has been able to rise above it or share their story in a way. And not only does it inspire me as a writer, because I really love seeing the style of people's writing and how they tell stories, but it just really makes me feel like I can get through anything just hearing about other inspiring people telling their stories. So that's one way that I get inspired. I like to just read a quick essay if I can.
Yeah, that's great advice. Can you name a significant event in your life that has shaped who you are and why you're here? Well, I guess these are two separate. We'll split these up because that's an extensive question to throw on something at the end. Tell us about a significant event in your life that has shaped who you are.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's like a specific event that has happened to me, but it's more of just a collection of experiences who have made me really who I am. And when I was younger, I was in college, I was in a very toxic relationship. It was a really, really, I guess at the time I didn't realize how bad it was. And it took me years to really get through it and understand what really happened to me and how abusive it really was and understand what that abuse really looked like. And then I started to learn more about what other people experience and that it looks similar, but it could also be much worse, because at my time, I was, a privileged person. I had my own place that I was living in. I had my own financial resources, but not everyone has that. And I actually wrote an article for this website called CivMix, and it was about the Me Too movement and how it's affected our local community in particular. So I actually interviewed, I think it was you from the YWCA, about it. And I learned a lot more about how abuse really impacts more specifically people with based on their race, based on their class, or even disability status, and how that is very disproportionate. And that really inspired me to kind of be the person I am today, get involved with the YWCA and focus more on the local community and supporting the people around me, because I think that just made me much more interested in helping others and not just, thinking of myself.
Yeah. Yeah, that experience that you shared is so common. I mean, being here for 9 years at the YW and hearing so many stories from the folks that we work with about, what domestic violence really looks like, and dating violence, all of that. I think it's so important. There is a common thread where people say, looking back, I should have known. Like it was all there, it was happening, but you're young, you don't realize it. And so I think, like you said, to be able to be at this stage where it's behind you and to be able to give back in various ways, the YW board, podcasts, any way that you can, I think is such a great kind of a way to like heal from that trauma for sure. So people
Absolutely.
out there listening, I'm sure a lot of that resonates with our audience for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, why did you want to be a YW board member? I mean, you kind of just talked about it. Maybe that's why the questions were together on our on our team. Is that really what kind of drove you to, apply to be on the board at the YW, or was there something else that had kind of stuck out in your mind?
Absolutely. That is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to get involved with the YWCA, but also because I am very passionate about Schenectady. I love this community here, and I love the fact that your programs are so Schenectady focused. I know that there's different YWCAs throughout the country, but Schenectady is home to me, and I care so much about the local community here. And as I mentioned, local politics is something that's very important. So I'm not someone who's going to get and be a politician, but I do want to get involved with nonprofits that really make a difference. So the YWCA has always just been the most impactful organization from my perspective, and I've just always admired the work that you do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
It's where the staff here are so passionate about what we do, and to have board members that, are really strong allies to us in the work that we're doing on the ground in the community. It just means everything to have people that understand and really get kind of what's happening here, and the culture that we've tried to create here at the YWCA. So we're certainly happy to have you on our team.
I'm happy to be here. And another great thing about your mission, I think that really stuck out to me compared to other organizations, is that you're dedicated to eliminating racism. And I find that so many organizations, they kind of separate those different issues, but your perspective is more that they're all together. They all impact each other, and you can't support other women without supporting all women. And I think that's very important. That really resonated with me as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great connection to make, and a point to kind of highlight is that, I think for a lot of staff, we focus a lot on the empowerment of women, with a lot of our programs, it's really front and center. But when you really look at the other half of our mission statement, eliminating racism, it really is about those intersectionalities that happen for underrepresented communities in Schenectady, and how affordable housing, early learning, and domestic violence, how those all impact communities of color. So it really is you can't do one without the other. So it's definitely worth highlighting. And thank you for sharing that too. Now that you're officially kind of on the board, is there any kind of certain area or impact that you hope to make as part of our board now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the advocacy part of it and just awareness is really, something that's important to me. And I think that's the big first step in getting the community to really understand how pervasive domestic violence can really be. And that's what triggers action. And I think that's what's most important. And I went to the rally for reproductive rights. And the thing that I really loved was that it wasn't just a rally of getting the community together. There was action steps. So after, you could write on a postcard to your local representatives, which I thought was really cool. And those things make a direct impact on women and survivors, of course. And, that there was a committee that was built. So I think those things, working together with the YWCA on all those events and trying to get donations, which directly support those programs that, again, directly support survivors, is what's really important to me. And I think I can make the most impact there, especially as a communications and marketing person. I think that I can really help with getting the word out about those types of things and thinking through the strategy and just being hands-on in the community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else that you want to share that we haven't covered, or, anything else that you think that our community should know about you, or our staff that are watching, or our clients that are watching?
Oh, yeah. Not that I can think of. I think we covered a lot of stuff.
We did. We went deep and we got through it. I wanted to, before we wrap up, just obviously thank you, Talia, for being our first guest on our mini series, bringing the butterfly effect back. It's been a little bit. I think last summer we had the second series, so we're starting it up again. We hope to inspire those that are watching and seeing that there are really good people doing good things in the community. It's hard to, kind of tune out all the negativity. So we're hoping to just provide a few minutes of positivity for those that are stumbling across this interview during their day. As far as the YWCA, down below, kind of scrolling underneath Talia and I, there's information on how to check out our website and call us, whether you want to get involved in our mission through volunteering, sponsorships, or attending events. Feel free to reach out. You can ask for myself or go to the website. Most of the information is on there. We are heading into a really busy season for the YWCA. We've got October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and November, which is Homelessness Awareness Month. Both are coming up with lots of events at the YWCA. Next on the docket is September 29th, the Vagina Monologues. We're doing a production of that again at GE Theater in Proctor's. It's going to be a great night out. We're starting rehearsals this week, so we'll be ready for you guys and ready to entertain everybody that attends our show. All proceeds from that show are going to go right to our domestic violence programming. So we hope to see you there. And Talia, again, thank you so much for joining us. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks.